Hi everyone, this is Abdul Karim from Khaleej Times, and you've normally seen me reporting and talking about the Covid-19 situation in the country and across the globe, but sadly I was a positive case as well over the last 2 weeks. In this video is going to be a little bit of a diary of what I got up to over my 14 days of home quarantine and what I learned from it and what message I would like to share with you through my own experience. So grab a seat, because this is going to be a bit of a story. Thankfully, I was asymptomatic throughout the time. And this video is going to be a little bit of a COVID-19 diary of what I got up to on my 14 days of home quarantine over the course of 14 days. This is to share my experience of the COVID-19, make you understand how serious this situation is, and for an asymptomatic case like myself, how dangerous it is for people who do not test and who do not do the social distancing or do not look after themselves or even do not or fail to wear their masks at the time when they're supposed to, and how this can also lead to the spreading of the virus, and why it's important to be looking at ourselves as well as our surroundings. So this is going to be a little bit of a video of what I went through, what precautions I took at home, and what needs to be learned from my experience that you can make use of as well. I do not know how I contracted the virus. However, us journalists are usually out and about chasing stories, and we do make sure that we follow the precautions for our own safety. I was sent for a random test, as one of my colleagues from the radio station where I host the morning show had tested positive. Sadly, during that test, I was diagnosed as a positive case. I was called in for a retest, which also turned out to be positive again on the 30th of September. I used to report on the number of cases for both the radio and the multimedia section of the newspaper and keep our listeners updated, and then now I was that number. As soon as I got my results, I was given some home quarantine guidelines by the government authority Saha about how to look after myself and make sure that I disposed whatever I used in a safe and a proper manner. And then came the idea of the 14-day home quarantine. It did sound daunting at the start, but then I took it as a way to give myself a license to do absolutely nothing throughout the day, and that procrastination was okay. And someone has said this before, I'm pretty sure, but I looked at it in a way that if you can't enjoy your own company on your own, how can you expect others to be enjoying the same? So I took it upon myself and said, okay, let's make sure that I plan my day accordingly and get through the day. Every morning I used to open my balcony door to let some fresh air come in and disinfected my surroundings with this sterilizer. I was fortunate enough to have a much bigger personal space than what others normally would, so I did make the most of it by being out in the sun for a bit and to have my meals. Throughout the time I did eat really well and had plenty of fruits and plate full of meals, which were provided to me in disposable cutlery and plates. All of this was provided by my family who live with me and with whom I would have a conversation on Zoom as well. I did also keep myself busy with work, which was good to maintain a routine and have something to do during the day. Every other day I would be receiving a parcel of goodies or flowers to keep me motivated and happy. I got some of my favorite snacks from my colleagues, and all of this just makes one feel good. Luckily, I did not have to rely on any medication. However, I did take some vitamins to boost my immunity. As part of the precautions, I would dispose all of the used plastic cutlery in a bin bag, which would be sterilized and then placed under the sun for a few days before being dumped. I did keep some sweet items with me to do a daily test on my sense of taste, and thankfully I had not lost my sense of taste throughout the quarantine period. I did also make sure that I was checking my temperature regularly, and that too remained normal during the period. With the weather cooling down, I did keep myself entertained with some movies and series on the streaming platforms under the night sky. I made sure it was a bit of a variety. In fact, I even watched an Emirati film, so that was something to celebrate the end of each day. And I'd make use of the space every day and made sure that this one received quite a bit of beating.
I did make sure I was training well with some skipping, boxing, and general workout during the evenings to make sure I don't end up being lazy, and a bit of damage control from all the overindulgence. I also believe that I remained asymptomatic because I did have a focus on my fitness and kept myself busy over the last 6 months with boxing and working out regularly.
One thing I was certainly quite concerned about is that one of my friends in the UK, who is also a doctor, told me that these symptoms get worse between days 7 to 10, so I should be taking a little bit more easy leading up to those days, which I did.
As days went by, I think by day 13, I had completely lost it. I was just too annoyed of being stuck in one place, and soon it was the final day, the day of freedom. So I did go on a crazy rampage of disinfecting everything in my room, took all the rubbish and old clothes as well as the bedding out in the sun. The final assault on the virus was the moment of celebration, which I still cherish.
It's all about appreciating what we currently have. I'm grateful to my parents, my friends and colleagues for all the support that they provided me. And yes, it is important to understand that our health is our greatest asset. And instead of worrying about what we could have had or we wanted to have, it's important to appreciate, admire, and adore what we currently have.
Next is understanding that the virus and taking it seriously. Yes, I took some precautions and made videos at home for work about disinfecting our surroundings and the repetitive stuff about masks and gloves, but the fact is that I was still struck by the virus.
Luckily, I was asymptomatic. And had I not been tested, once again the importance of doing these regular tests, I could have been out there spreading the virus and giving it to those for whom it would prove a lot deadly. Now, wearing of these face masks and social distancing, yes, it is quite annoying for us, but let's not make our convenience a misery for others. It is important to mask up. It is important to make sure that we keep our areas and our own surroundings safe, and it is important to be practicing that social distancing because an asymptomatic case like me is one of the main reasons why this virus is spreading across the globe and is being reported in large numbers. So let's be realistic about this. Mask up and take the responsibility for making sure that this is a joint effort in combating against COVID-19. Thank you for listening to my story.